Hello and welcome to Skinbag of Coffee. I'm your host, Filtron. Today I was going to talk about some images from my photos I take out in the real world, which is something I'd really prefer to start doing. But in this case, the ones that I took, the ones I wanted to talk about, were of a tractor trailer pulling a big oil rig component or something. It was enormous, and it was on like a dozen axles, and I realized they had like, in the images there were some license plate numbers that I would have to mark out, and I just really didn't want to spend the time painstakingly doing that. So, after wasting about a half hour on that, instead, I decided to go over some of my artwork instead. This is a world in which I have total freedom. Now, if you're not familiar with the theme of this image, these sketches, these are referenced from a channel I know and love called Futura Sound, who talks about Metal Gear Solid, which I'm a huge fan. These are just screenshots from the videos. This is an Abrams tank. This is Subway, a diagram of some sort in Japan, some Japanese hardware, and a PlayStation 1. This is one I took towards the end of 25. If you look up close at the fire, you can see that the style I took right from Walking Dead artist Charlie Adlard, who's a brilliant visual storyteller. I enjoyed the comic way more than the show. And what you have here is sort of an inverted cloud, where instead of protruding outward, it goes inward, and then these two lines meandering up into the sky. Solid white against a darker background. The contrast here is what directs the viewer's eye. These dark tones serve to bracket the characters, and it directs the viewer right into the story. This was a piece I did for First Baptist Church here in Roswell for a youth retreat. I left a lot of negative space here for titles and text, which is something I don't normally do, but even without titles, it works. Only about 40% of the frame is occupied here, which had an unexpected effect that got the point across. This one I drew from imagination, which I don't do enough of. I'd like to do it more, but it requires taking a risk. That's why it can be so rewarding, but you must be prepared to make many mistakes, but that's okay, because there are no rules. There's only tools. This is a character of mine. I don't have a name for him, it's just the cat. I think it's based on the last cat I had, maybe projecting my own mood onto him. Very sketchy. I had not long ago gotten this ink pen, which achieves these nice, big, broad, dark lines. The strokes are very expressive. This is one where I started to... If I remember correctly, I was trying to establish a repetitive format of a square made of 4 frames that would be compatible with Instagram. But sticking to it through several iterations, I ended up abandoning it because it was too constraining. I was inking pencils and trying to make it perfect, which made it look a little more labored and a lot more stiff. I didn't like it. The reason I did it in the first place is the format lends itself well to archiving and publishing. That's why newspaper strips have consistent format. But what dawned on me is that my audience probably doesn't even read the paper. Didn't make sense. I did make this available for purchase through a print-on-demand service. And so today I wanted to take a break from reaction style show to using original assets of mine. And by assets, I mean images, audio, media, etc. Going forward, I'd like to make a hybrid of these two, making original assets and relating them in some way to curating the most interesting things I find on the internet to bring reality to hyper reality. Anyways, I hope you're doing well. Remember that you are loved. And I'll talk to you later.